Alexa, play Let It All Work Out by Lil Wayne. Not going to say I told you so, but here we are, Baylor Gonzaga. I kind of screwed up in the Final Four. I had Baylor and Illinois, I think, in the championship, and Illinois, Big Ten in general, just kind of blew it. But here we are on Championship Monday. We got Baylor and Gonzaga, and I think it's going to be a great matchup. But anyways, this is now the 11th episode. So today I'm just going to kind of recap on the first 10 episodes. So it's just going to kind of sum up every single episode up until this point. And next week we'll get into some new stuff. So in week 1, we kind of talked about house hacking. House hacking is simply just buying a property. You actually live in the property and you're renting out the other bedrooms or the other units. And the rent you're receiving from those people living in those bedrooms or units are covering either all of your expenses, all of your living expenses, or at least covering part of it. In some cases, you actually might be making a little bit of money on the side. And you repeat this process every year. And the bedroom that you were living in or the unit that you were living in, you in turn find a renter to replace that for you. This is one of the more beneficial ways to purchase property and get into investment properties or rentals, because you get all of the financing benefits of owner-occupied financing rather than investment financing. And again, I dig into all this stuff in each episode individually, but we're just going to sum this up throughout. In week 2, we talked about the Bur Method, which stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. So you buy a property that needs a little bit of work, you rehab it, make it look all pretty and all that. You put some renters in there and you refinance it. And then what makes the whole thing snowball is repeating it. When you do this, you're buying a property that needs work, so it's at a lower price point. You put some work into it, could be $10,000, could be $30,000, could be $100,000. And then you put renters in there. After you put renters in there, you refinance it. And when you refinance it, you can expect a higher value on the property that will cover all of the expenses that you put into the property, including the purchase price and the renovations. And the difference between what you put into it and what it's valued at, you can either pocket it or go take that and put it into the next property. So not only are you getting a nice chunk of money at the end of it, but you're also cash flowing because of the rental income. Episode 3 was essentially just the differences between buying a single family home, a condo or townhome, and a multifamily property such as a duplex, triplex, or quadplex or whatever. And if you watched this episode, it was split into 2 parts because it was so long. But the biggest thing to take away from both of these episodes were the differences in expenses and the differences between what it looks like when you get financing with a mortgage or purchasing cash. And then in part 2 of this, it's going into what this would look like if you purchased it as an investment property and how to evaluate that with different methods such as internal rate of return, cap rate, cash flow, cash on cash return. The list could really go on and on. It's a lot of numbers and a lot of data, and some of it kind of goes over your head a little bit. It's not the most exciting episode, but there's a ton of value in that one if you have ever thought about getting into rentals or investment properties. Episode 4 went into the do's and don'ts before purchasing a home. The big ones in this for the do's are make sure you've got good credit, build some credit up a year or 2 in advance. Keep your costs low, make coffee at home instead of going to Starbucks every morning. You'd be surprised how much that saves you over a year and how that little of a difference will benefit you in the long run when it comes to your financial goals and trying to purchase a home. Another major thing to do before purchasing a home is talk to a lender. They have stuff in place where they can actually walk you through each step of the way until you're ready to purchase a property. They can set up a plan with you and get you to that point when you're ready to purchase a property in 12 months or 10 months or whatever it is. So you're not stuck when month 12 comes around and you're ready to go buy a place and nothing's working out. This will also help you identify what your true budget looks like rather than what your maximum purchase price can be, because ultimately it comes down to what you are willing to pay or what you want to pay monthly. Episode 5, we talked about the most frequently asked questions that I receive on a day-to-day about real estate in general. I think I have about 8 different examples of questions that I receive on that video, but the most common that I receive is, do I need 20% down to purchase a home? And the answer is no. There are tons of programs out there that you can get all the way down to 3%, 3.5%. In some cases, if you're buying in a rural area or you're in the military or the police force or you can get actually down to 0% down. So if you've been saving up for 4 or 5 years or whatever, however long, for a 20% down payment on a home, I'm here to tell you, you do not need 20% down. And shoot me a text or comment below or something like that, and I can get you connected with the right people that offer those programs under 20%. Number 6 of the show was natural versus forced appreciation. Natural appreciation, just dumbing it down, is simply just what the market says your property is worth and how much it has increased over time. So you buy a $100,000 property and you stay there for all 30 years, and at year 30 it's worth $200,000. Your property appreciated 100% over 30 years, or 3.33% per year. Forced appreciation is kind of self-explanatory in the name, but it's essentially just forcing that appreciation rate up. So doing things to the property that will increase the value of it, such as a new roof, new siding, new landscaping, do a complete gut job, floors, new drywall, new paint, new kitchen, new bathrooms, anything that you do to forcibly appreciate the value of your home. And I really dig deep into it in that episode as well. Next, we have the 1031 exchange. For all you investors out there, this is a super interesting way to avoid paying capital gains tax or just deferring those taxes to a further date. Instead of paying taxes on the gains that you receive from that proceeds check when you sell that home or multifamily property or whatever it is, if you go purchase another investment property at the same price or above, you can defer the taxes that you were going to pay on that. And you can do this as many times as you want. So as long as you're purchasing something of a higher value, which is good for you, you can defer the taxes that you would have paid on that proceeds check until you're done using the 1031 exchange. When you sell that last property, that's when you'll pay taxes on it. Episode 9, we talked about leveraging, and leveraging is just taking the equity from your home and using that to go purchase more properties. So instead of the 1031 exchange where you have to sell that property in order to go purchase the next one, leveraging, you're essentially just taking the equity that you have in your current home and then you're able to go purchase the next place without having to sell yours. And you can grow extremely quickly doing this, because if you do that with your current home, you go buy another place, that place that you purchased, when you're able to take equity out of that home, you can go purchase another one and another one and another one. And you can use these homes that you used with leveraging, that you've purchased with leveraging, and go branch out like crazy. And there are some downfalls to leveraging as well, but you'll have to go watch that episode in order to find out what that is. And episode 10 was hidden benefits to real estate. There's some really good ones on there, but I think a couple of the most beneficial ones or the most valuable ones would be, you can write off your property taxes and your mortgage interest. And the year that you close on a home, you can write off those closing costs as well when it comes to tax season. But property taxes and mortgage interest, you can write that off every single year. And that's a little hidden thing that people don't take into account when they're looking at investment properties too. If you're running the numbers and a home doesn't cash flow the way you want it to, or the numbers don't check out, don't forget you can write off your property taxes and your mortgage interest. So really, when the triple bottom line comes down to it, you're saving a little bit more. Your expenses are going to be a little bit less than what those numbers are showing when you're running your analysis, if you decide to write those off. The second one is mortgage interest rates. We've gotten really comfortable in the last 8 months with rates below 3%. And I'm starting to see a lot of people kind of panic. They're going up and up, 3.25, 3.5%. What are we gonna do when it gets to 4%? The fact of the matter is, if rates even go up to 5%, it's still lower than it has been in the last decade. So the lowest we have seen in the last decade were in 2019, where it was like 5.34% or 5.24%. And then in 2011 was the next lowest at like 5.034%. So if rates even rise to 3.5% or even 4.5%, you're still getting a lower rate than anybody else that's purchased a property in the last decade, besides those people that purchased a place in the last 8 months that got rates at 2.25% or 2.5%. It's still historically low, so don't panic. That's a little hidden benefit that you're gonna have against anybody else that's purchased in the last 10 years. There you have it, just a quick little synopsis for you on everything we've talked about so far. We'll have some new stuff coming out next week. If you guys have any ideas for what you'd like to see in future videos, shoot me a text, comment below, because this is all for you guys. I wanna be filling you guys with information that you find valuable, not what I find valuable. So any questions or anything that you've got, shoot it my way and I will promptly address it. Thanks for watching. I will see you next week, and go Bears.